Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Lawson Center for our kickoff lecture. My name is Andy Robinson. I've been working in the workshop, the boat shop in the basement for a number of years. See, by the attendance, most people have seen my lectures before. The Century Boat Company, just a little bit about it. It was founded in 1926 by James and William Walsh, and they were primarily concerned with little racing runabouts. On the ceiling back there is one of their boats they built. That's a 1932 Century, maybe a Thunderbolt. Cyclone, Century Cyclone, okay. They started in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 1926, 1928, they moved to Manistee, Michigan. And in 1930, these guys actually had a boat similar to that going 53 point some miles an hour, which at that time was a world record for a smaller runabout. Late 30s, when this boat was built, I believe it was 1938, we're not sure, maybe 37, but they had 28 different models. During the war, they ceased production on production boats. They got involved in military craft. They did about 3,800 military craft for the Navy. They probably were building landing craft. So they built wooden boats through 1967, I believe, was the last wooden boat production. They got into the fiberglass boats, and subsequently they moved from Manistee, Michigan. They were bought and sold a few times. They were in Panama City, Florida. Now they're in Zephyr Hills, and they're still being produced, but now they make their big line now is the Center Council fishing pleasure boat with the little roof on. They make cutties, but they're still a big production boat. Now we'll just spend some time. This little dipper came to us by donation from the Fiedler family in Lakewood. And I grew up with these kids. I never knew they had this boat. They lived on the corner of Pennsylvania, Chautauqua Avenue in Lakewood, just up from the yacht club. And it was kept in the garage. Apparently the family would trailer it to Maine. We found fishing licenses in the boat from the state of Maine and also from the province of Ontario, from the Georgia Bay area. And apparently they trailered it for their summer vacations. Here it is in the basement. We're just starting to strip it off. You can see how rough it is. But the more we got into this thing, we couldn't find any rotten wood, any bad wood on this boat. It was really a pretty easy restoration. But this is how it looked as it came to us. Here we are stripping it again. We've taken out the rear seat. This is the engine in it. It's a, what's it, Dave? Come on, it's a Gray Marine or a Chrysler. We figured it was like 60 some odd horsepower. Sorry, we all know a lot about the Chris Craft engines. Centuries we're not as well versed on, but this is the way it just looked. We're starting to take it apart. There's a little dipper from the rear. Now, I think I rebuilt this. I can't remember. I think we had to rebuild it. I think maybe the bottom boards are rotten on that. Maybe this is something to rebuild, but that's it all stripped, ready to be stained and varnished.
How many hours you figure you have in?
It took about a year and a half. Hours that we don't catalog. This is one of the seats. This is the seat back, and this is the seats. You see them in here. It's probably the front seat that we have stripped.
Now, is that mahogany or?
That's all mahogany, yes. It was all good, clear grain mahogany. It may have come with a seat cushion. Here we get into the fun part. Here we've taken the floorboards out, and this is stuff that you can take a putty knife and just, it'll come off. It's all grease from years and years of leaking. This probably had something to do with rodent populations. I don't know, we get a lot of that, but this is how bad that boat was. People say that the grease will keep the boat from rotting. I don't know if that's true, but it may have worked here. There's another view of the motor in the boat. Here's more of the stuff that we're faced with on these boats, all the junk in here. This is where we strip the boat off now. We use strip product we get from Emco finishes, and we find it works good if you put tinfoil over it, kind of holds all the chemicals in, and we strip it off with putty knives. There's Pat Charest with his boat. That's an example of Chris Craft with that fancy gingerbread painting on it. That's a super sport. Once again, it doesn't look like much now, but that's how they look as you strip off all that old varnish. And it's got a good crown to it too, which is kind of neat. I just like the lines of that.
You can't stand up on it.
You can't stand up on it. Yeah, you're probably right. It would be hard to stand on. Once again, another picture. We've gone around the whole boat now. Here we've taken the motor out of the boat. We can hang it from the ceiling here. This is a little rig that Chuck Hutchinson gave us, but it takes the boat out, the motor right out. We put it on a cradle to work on it. Oh boy, this is what we're faced with. Look at all the grease in there. It's fun, but it's part of it. We just have to scrape it out, and then we scrub it with soap, Bill's cleaner, best we can. Degreaser, we scrub it. Here we put the first coat of stain on the hull side here. We've had this, this is a good thing. We have this tent here that we use, and it'll show better, but when we had this tent, it keeps all these dust mites off. And this is the best varnish job that we did here. It's very few, there's a lot of dust in it still, but for a dusty old shop, this came out pretty good. Notice we haven't done the bottom yet, but we have stripped the interior boards here of all the old varnish. And it shows, it's exposed, and you can see it came out pretty good. That's how it looks after you get it all cleaned out. And that's a lot of work. It's not fun. I think here we may have sealed the bottom. That's why I think we did. We have a compound we use. It's called Cephas. It's clear penetrating epoxy sealer. And the idea, it kind of seals the wood off. We use it, it's like an epoxy mixed with xylene. So it's very liquidy, but once it soaks into the wood, the xylene will dissipate and you're left with epoxies that soaked into the wood. So that's what we've done here, kind of seal off the bottom. Now it makes a good solid surface so we can paint over it. Well, there's your baler back here. You see that's that automatic baler. You got the exhaust. Here's the steering lever. Here it's done by pipes. Back to a junction here, the rudder.
Andy, you should tell the story about how we figured out where the Cephas formula came from.
Oh yeah. Cephas is a two-part mixture, and it's expensive. So one of our friends, Honest Willie, he's a bright fellow, and he figured out what Cephas was. It is just literally a two-part epoxy, and you mix it with xylene, and like I said, it thins it way down, and then you put it on a piece of wood, and everything soaks right in, and then the xylene will dissipate away, and you're left with epoxy, which will seal the wood. And he calls this guy named Smith out in California that sells this stuff for like $70 for a gallon kit. And Willie says, I got it figured out. It all is a two-part epoxy with xylene in it, because I know chemistry. Hung up on it. That was it. We're doing it for like $20 a gallon. Now look how nice that came out. You know, we stripped it all off, and then it looks like we've sanded it there. Yeah, we sanded it. Here's it sanded, and there's one we haven't got to it yet. You want to try to get it to be one color. Now there we painted the floor. Platinum gray. Probably not the right color, but we have a lot of it. Now there's Tom. He's painting the engine, or Tom Calisanda. He's painting the engine block. There, that's what that one shows. That's pretty close to what the original color would have been. Oh, there we have the whole thing stained, and I think we put 3 or 4 coats of varnish. You put a coat of varnish on, and then we like to build up 3 coats, and then we sand it. Then start putting, that gives you a good solid base, and then we sand over it, it makes it nice and smooth. Once again, that's not in the tent, so that's not the final coat. But there we are, putting varnish on it.
So how many coats are you buying?
We go 7 or 8. There's a coat of sealer, the stain sealer, and 7 or 8 coats of varnish. Unless you have a proper spray booth, I don't know if you gain too much. You get it nice and smooth, which it is, and then you're still going to get dust nibs. We'll put a coat of varnish on and we'll look at it after it dries the next day and it's full of dust nibs. All you need is someone to walk in or walk through here. I mean, it's a dusty shop. It's our enemy when we varnish. Yeah, there we are. Still looking good. I kind of like that. That's where, I don't know, I've never seen a boat where they had these back here in the transom, but there's no other holes. This is where they were. So all the hardware was in good shape. We did take it to Walcrom and had it redone. Here's a little secret. We put tape on here, and our guy that does all the logos, Quentin Johnson, we're supposed to put it behind the tape. He put it in front of the tape. That's another thing the Century guy would pick out. So it's kind of neat. This is supposed to be back here, but it looks great in a sense. The windshields, we had new glasses made. We bought these new, we buy these moldings. We had all the window frames were all here, so we had them chrome. And there's John Marsh, he's our mechanic. A video that I took. John got the motor going, and then the spring came, we were able to take it out on the patio and hitched water up to it, and we had it running very, very quiet. Dude, Tom does a real nice job making. I don't know, what is this? Well, that's the gas line here. I don't know what it's doing there, but that's the gas line. I don't know what it's. Yeah, there we put the seat back in there, and you know, I think you've ruined the looks with putting seat cushions on here. And then we put the engine back into the boat. There's John. He's pretty nimble. He's older than me, but he's putting the wiring in there, trying to hitch this thing up, make it run, make it work. It's got a nice brass shift lever there we put in, shine it all up. This is a plastic. I'm trying to think what the term is, but like the radios are made out of this plastic stuff. Yeah, Bakelite. That's Bakelite. And I sanded it down, and it came out, looks pretty decent here. This little thing here, we'd get points off for that in the show. This nice little blue plaque, we put it on the dash. It was originally mounted here on the floorboard, or maybe on the kickboard above it, where you couldn't see it. But we put it up there because it looked nice. And it came out, looks pretty decent here. There's Tom, Bill's supporter. Looks like we've just put the seat back in, probably what we've done there. Yeah, now it's pretty well finished. Once again, I hate that it looks so nice in the light. It's a nice boat. I think you could put this boat in water, let it soak for a while. It would be a perfect boat to run around, even at its age. It's a nice boat.
Yeah,
We put
new rail?
Oh, yeah, the rub chrome here, the rub rail here, that's not original. We couldn't find enough of the original to put on there, and apparently you guys couldn't find it when you picked the boat up. But once again, that's a thing. We're talking about this chrome here. It actually is a little wider. Oh, it's just like this here. This is the proper chrome well around the boat. It's a little wider, but Kelly O'Neill donated this to us, and it works, but a Century purist would probably take a section to it. I think that's about it, isn't it? Yeah, there she is again. Came out very nice.
Andy, after you guys finish one of these big projects, because normally they're not dropped in the water, that
Normally, it's kind of a pain to get them loaded back on a trailer, although we could take it down to the Demus Ramp. But a boat like this, because it's been in a warm shop, the bottom separates. You really should hang a wooden boat in a craneway for a night or 2 nights to let the boards swell up. Once they swell up, they don't leak very much. But if you put it in just like it is, you'd have a problem with it. But there she is.
Century was Dr. Lewis's.
I'm glad you asked. It was an 18-foot resorter with a 200